How are you guys today? I had a interesting topic for you guys. This is I think maybe the 5th or the 4th installment of Millennial Mop. I think it is the 5th installment. I actually had to go back in time to see how many of these I've done. Welcome to everybody who's joining. By the way, those who are watching on JERICHO TV, I'm talking to people who are joining live because this is actually recorded on Facebook Live. So people are actually able to join live. So I talk to those people as well. Just so you guys who are watching on JERICHO actually know what's going on. But yeah, God bless you guys. Welcome. Well, anyway, I had an interesting topic for you guys today. I'm not sure where Holy Spirit wants to go with it, but we'll see. Because I'm gonna let you guys know the direction that I know that he told me he wanted me to go with this particular thing was to just turn on the camera and speak. Now, as a former perfectionist, my thing used to be having to plan everything out and having to plan it out to a T. And I notice that sometimes when I do that, when I have the opportunity to speak, it's actually harder for me to follow that format because my mind ends up going someplace else anyway. So I noticed that the best way for me to speak or to encourage people is to just speak, and hopefully out of the abundance of the heart, I'm able to say something that encourages somebody. Oh my goodness. But I just turned into the parking lot, so I'll be parking soon. But I just wanted to spend about maybe 15 minutes talking to you guys. I didn't have as much time today as I usually do. I mean, I still have like about maybe 45 minutes before I have to go in, but I like to take some time doing some other things as well. Before I go into work, I like to take some time to decompress or pray or check my heart or whatever before I actually go into work, because it actually helps me center myself. It helps me understand where I'm going with my day, and when I have some time to think about what I'm actually doing, the kind of job that I have where I talk to a lot of people, it just helps me center myself, which is good. And just having that time of prayer is beneficial for me in many ways. But yes, I wanted to talk to you guys. I just found a parking space so I can take off my glasses if that's distracting to some of you. Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you guys today about was living right and choosing to do the right thing. Now, I do know that this show is basically modeled just after talking about topics from a millennial's perspective, and also topics that I believe will help millennials in their walk with God and stuff like that. And whatever you're choosing to do with your life, this is not just solely for Christians or for believers, but for anybody who is willing to listen. I believe that these truths, yes, I believe are good for the Christian to walk out, but I do believe that they are universal truths for everybody and that anybody can follow. So I wanted to talk about living right today, or choosing to do the right thing. In every aspect of life, we have choices. And I believe that there are certain things that we do as a people group that hi Wing, how are you? That I feel like sometimes hinders our abilities to really live the best life. And I feel like there's certain rules of life that are in place to ensure that we live the best life. And some of us who are freer spirits love to question the notion of rules, or doing things because you feel like you have to, obligations, things like that, things that we feel like hinder our ability to have fun in that moment. But I really do believe that when we take some time to think about our actions and what we're doing, and we choose to either do what we feel like doing or doing what we know is right to do, how would that affect us? Like, how does it affect, like, our relationships? I was talking last week on the prayer call that I'm a part of on Wednesday nights. I was talking about, our communication. I think I talked about this last week on Millennial Mop. I was like, how does our communication affect our ability to really talk to people and our ability to affect people's lives in a positive way, or our communication with people? How does that affect our choosing to say the right thing, or choosing to actually listen to people? How does that affect our lives? We have choices all the time. And I talk to a lot of millennials. I talk to a lot of people because of the job that I have, but I talk to a lot of millennials. I mean, where I work, I'm friends with a lot of people who are around, my age range. I would say between the ages of 19 and 30. And I'm in the middle of that. I will be 26 this year. I talk to a lot of different people, and I try to develop a rapport with the people that I work with and anyone I'm talking to at any place. And I hear a lot of conversation from them. In my conversations, I hear people trying to make decisions based on how they feel at the moment. I talk to a lot of people who are very open about their sexuality, about their sex lives, and how much sex that they have. I hear a lot of people talk about how they what's the term? I was thinking of like a good word to use. I hear a lot of people talk about how they enter into relationships and how they talk to people, and a lot of times I hear a lot of complaining from people, to be honest. I hear a lot of complaining, a lot of people talking about how their lives are just not where they want them to be, and how they hate working where they work, and a whole bunch of stuff. And I wonder, like, what are we doing that's really affecting our lives so negatively to the point where we constantly complain? And I've been praying about how to answer this question. Now, when it comes down to sexuality, I've noticed that in our generation, sexuality has become something that's at the forefront. I mean, a lot of times people will make fun of you if you choose to not have sex with a whole bunch of people before you're married. And that's what I've chosen to do. And that's the thing. I chose to do this. And that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, was choosing to do the right thing. Now, personally, I'm just kind of exacerbating this particular topic when it comes down to sexuality. This is what I believe is plaguing our generation, so I will be talking about it. I know some people get offended at the even idea of someone openly talking about sexuality, but I believe that you would be pleasantly surprised that I am not encouraging anybody to just do what they want. So for those of you who might get offended at me talking about this topic, you definitely don't have to watch. And that's not me being contentious. That's just me saying that I believe that this is a topic that people need to talk about. But I also believe that it needs to be talked about from a different perspective. And my perspective is encouraging people to do the right thing. So now that disclaimer is out of the way. Anyway, what I was saying was, I hear a lot of people who are very open about their sexuality. They're very open about, how many people they like to sleep with. And I believe that the millennial generation in particular are the ones that really deal with this particular thing. Now, I've chosen to refrain from having sex with people until I'm married, and to the person that I have chosen to be with my entire life, or just spend my entire life with. And I believe that is a personal choice, and I had to choose to do that thing. This is the right thing I believe to do, or this is the right thing to do, I believe. And the thing is, I believe that that is a very hard decision, because we still have sex drives, we still want to do certain things, but I believe that when we engage in sexual activity with people who, of whom we don't know, that it's just psychologically damaging. Now, not even talking about it from a spiritual perspective or anything like that, I do believe that there are scientific psychological harms, not harms, but different things that we can do to our psyche. I think it harms our ability to think and to be ourselves when we're giving ourselves away to so many different people. I believe in reason, and so that's why I'm not giving a whole bunch of like biblical or esoterical or metaphysical reasons why I believe that sex before marriage is detrimental. But I'm giving answers or reasons that are based on reason. And sexual activity with people that you don't know, I believe, can psychologically harm you. I'm just fixing my thing so it's not in my car air freshener, so they're not so they're not blocking my face. But now the reason why I'm talking about this topic, this is just me feeling like this is where God is having me go. This is the direction I feel like I'm supposed to go in, which is interesting. But I have talked to people, just like I mentioned earlier, at work who have different views about this. And I had someone tell me the other day, or I think, it was the other day, that they don't necessarily have to love somebody in order to have sex with them. And I've noticed that this is a thing with our generation, is that sex somehow has become such a, like, it's a natural thing, but like it's a thing that everyone feels, and everyone, but a lot of people feel like they just need to do. And you don't necessarily have to love someone anymore in order to let them touch you and feel you up all over your body. Now, this is the example that I use when I talk about this topic. Would you grab the hand of a random stranger? Like, to say if you're walking down the street, or maybe you're going shopping and you're surrounded by strangers, would you let somebody whom you don't know hold your hand and walk down the street with them, or walk through the mall with them, or wherever you are? Would you just let a random person hold your hand and walk down the street? Most of the time when I ask that question, the answer is no. So then I say, why would you let a random stranger then touch you all over and feel you and do a whole bunch of things with you in bed then? Why is it that we believe in casual sex, or we commit, what's the term? My mind is still booting up. Why do we engage in casual sex as a, as a people, with people that we don't know, or people that we're not in relationship with, when we won't even hold hands with somebody with a random person? Why is it that we feel that it's okay to engage in sexual activity with somebody that we're not in relationship with, if we're not going to even let somebody hold our hand that we don't know? I mean, holding hand is just holding hands, but having sex is a completely different thing. I mean, I would think that you would have to have a lot of trust in order to let someone touch you in that way. But somehow it doesn't really take trust anymore, and that's the thing. It's like, but this is just one topic in this particular concept of living right, but I want to encourage our generation to think about what they're doing. Is what you're doing right now, or what you're going to do, are you going to feel happy about it the next day, or are you going to feel upset about it? That's the thing. Are you going to really like what you're doing, or are you going to feel good about it the next day, or are you going to be upset about it? That's the thing. Like, that is the question I believe that people need to ask themselves. And I think about these particular topics from a millennial perspective, because I understand how hard it is as a 20-something to not soil your wild oats, around the country, around anywhere you are, or just with everyone you meet that you find attractive. It really does take some willpower and some effort to not engage in those things. But if you are a believer, and I know some of you who are watching me probably aren't, and that's perfectly fine, but if you are a believer, you have the power of God backing you up in this. I believe that God did not set up these, rules so to speak, to keep us from having fun or keep us from really experiencing the fullness of life. I believe it's because he wanted us to experience the fullness of life and the goodness of life and the goodness of or just the fullness of living the best life. Because I feel like when we do things the right way, we actually experience the fullness of life. I will say this, that the more that I choose to make good decisions in my life, and I understand that some people think good decisions are subjective based on their own particular lifestyles, but I do believe that there's a standard, and I do believe that, there is a difference between right and wrong, which I do believe that a certain facet of our influencers are trying to do away with distinctions between right and wrong. But that's another topic for another video. I believe that the more and more I've made good decisions, the more happy I feel every day, the more fulfilled I feel. And that's not me just trying to convince you to live my lifestyle. I'm just saying, for me personally, I feel a lot better knowing that I am living and doing things right. Now, here's the thing. Why should a person refrain from having sex? Well, just like I said before, I believe in giving answers that are soaked in reason. I don't necessarily always give metaphysical answers, because I feel like metaphysical answers, even though I do believe in the supernatural power of God, I feel like a lot of times when you're trying to argue with people who don't necessarily believe that your lifestyle or what you're doing is the best because they feel like you're just being a prude and you're not having fun, I feel like you have to give arguments that are based in reason. And I believe that God is actually based in reason as well. I believe that these, I guess you can call them rules that he placed for really living your best life, are placed there for just that, living your best life. I actually believe that there are natural consequences to just choosing to do whatever you want to do with your life, or just doing whatever you want to do, or doing whatever you feel is good. I believe there are natural consequences to these actions, just like there are good consequences and there are bad. I believe that there are bad consequences to having sex with everybody you meet. That is an over-exaggerated statement, but basically it's just like doing whatever you feel like, which is